On May 1st, 2023, I made How Many Ports Are in Sonic 3. I was and still am proud of that video, albeit it was not really edited that much. It was meant to be similar to what YouTuber Pat Mack used to make for videos like that. It was also the first video to have my voice in it. Little did I know that my face would also make an appearance later that year. I will have you know I am not that fat anymore. Fun fact, the ports video was made in less than 24 hours, and the first facecam video was made in less than 6 hours. Why do I mention this? Well, it's because back in 2023/24, these two videos were my two most popular videos. Meanwhile, here you have a B3313 video that was made a few months after, that took almost 2 months to make, and it's one of my worst performing videos on the channel. This algorithm hates me. Anyways, I said that if the ports video got 5 likes, then I would do another one. Fine, I'll do it again. Super Mario Bros. Is one of the most popular games of all time. It single-handedly saved the entire video game market when it came out, and millions of people have played the game, and most still do to this day. It is also one of the few games that got released multiple times on the same system. Don't believe me? Well, the game was first released in Japan on September 13th, 1985 for the Famicom. North American release isn't really specified. Most sources say it was released on October 1985 as a launch game for the NES, so I'm gonna go with that. Europe got the game on May 15th, 1987. In 1988, it was re-released with Duck Hunt as part of a multi-cart, which was a packing game for the NES. In 1990, it got re-released again, this time with World Class Track Meet and Duck Hunt. Again. Finally, in 1988, it got re-released in Europe with Tetris and Nintendo World Cup in the same cartridge. I guess they really wanted all of the money, because that is a total of 6 versions of Super Mario Bros. In the span of 5 years on the same console, albeit in different regions. I guess that's just the tip of the iceberg though, because now let's take a look at all of the many ports and re-releases on other consoles of Super Mario Bros. On February 21st, 1986, Super Mario Bros. Was ported to the Famicom Disk System. In 1986, the game got an arcade port, which was the title Versus Super Mario Bros. It's basically Super Mario Bros. With the levels edited slightly to become more difficult and with some new levels, which got brought into the Japanese sequel, which we will talk about later. However, officially, the arcade version wasn't officially released in Japan, which was strange considering how Japan got the original game first. But, unofficially, people started to make unauthorized coin-op versions that were made from a Famicom console that was placed in the cabinet. There was also a Play Choice 10 version, which is just the original Super Mario Bros., but with a slightly different color palette, and a guide on the top which tells you that it's not Fire Mario, but Fire-y Mario. That's not confusing at all. Super Mario Bros. Was released on the Game & Watch on June 1986 and March 1988, which the later date was part of the new widescreen series. Of course, it hardly has anything to do with the console version, with it only having 8 levels instead of 32. Super Mario Bros. Special was a remake of the game that was developed by Hudson Soft, which was released in Japan in 1986 for the NEC PC A801. Geez, say that 5 times fast. And Sharp X1 computers. But does this count as a port though? Let's take a look at another example first. All Night Nippon Super Mario Bros. Is a modified version of Super Mario Bros. That was released in Japan in December 1986 for the Famicom Disk System. Although you had to get lucky, as it was part of a giveaway from the Japanese radio show All Night Nippon. At least the game lets you know where it was from. Now, is SMB Special an example of a remake because of the wildly different level design, new power-ups, new enemies, and a lack of screen scrolling? No. That's just a different game at that point. Is AN SMB a remake of the original because of different sprites of enemies and Toad being replaced by Japanese music idols, recording artists, DJs, and whatever the fuck this is, along with physics being awfully similar to the Japanese sequel, with the HUD and the graphics being also similar? Yes, it is mostly the same game as the original, but it has a couple design changes and replaced filler levels with the new ones. That is considered a remake. Let's move on from this. From the mid-1980s to the late 1990s, Nelsonic Industries produced Game Watches. On June 1989, there was a Game Watch of Super Mario Bros. Seriously, why was this game everywhere it could be in the first 5 years the game came out? Apparently, the watches were all criticized because they were unsuccessful in keeping to the source material. They also said the single-screen layout resulted in play dynamics that are described as boring. Did they really think that a game that was on a small watch was going to be fun at all, it would cause eye strain. And that is why Tiger Electronic became such a failure. Anyways, Super Mario All-Stars was released on the Super Nintendo in 1993. This is a compilation of Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. All of these games got remade from the ground up in order to get put on the SNES, and it shows with new art, remade music, and slightly different physics. I just find it funny that when you play Super Mario Bros. 3 in this collection, and somehow hold left and right in your controller at the same time, Mario just reaches maximum speed to the right. It's very hard to control, but it looks cool to be a level. This compilation did get re-released on the SNES with Super Mario World, and it got re-released again on the Wii for the 25th anniversary, this time without Super Mario World. It's okay though, it came with a 32-page art book and a CD with music from a lot of Mario games. Anyways, the next re-release is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for the Game Boy Color, released on May 10th, 1999 in North America and Europe, and in 2000 in Japan, exclusively to Nintendo Power. This is a remake of both Super Mario Bros. And The Lost Levels with an overworld map, and You vs. Boo, which is probably the best thing that came out of this game. Super Mario Bros. Supports the GBA as part of the NES series in North America and Famicom Minis in Japan. Taking a look at this game makes me want to throw up. Small Mario looks like he's about to fall over because of his damn head being too big. Animal Crossing for the GameCube has 19 unlockable NES games you can play. Unfortunately, you can't play Super Mario Bros. On here, unless you can hack the game like I just did. FBI, open up! Whoops. In 2006, Nintendo started Virtual Console, which was a way to play classic games on the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS. Super Mario Bros. Was released on the Wii on December 2nd, 2006 in Japan, December 25th, 2006 in North America, and January 5th, 2007 in PAL regions. It was released on the 3DS as part of the Nintendo 3DS Ambassador Program in September 2011, although it got a bigger release on January 5th, 2012 in Japan, February 16th, 2012 in North America, and March 1st, 2012 in Europe. The Wii U got it in Japan on June 5th, 2013, September 12th, 2013 in Europe, and September 19th, 2013 in North America. Oh yeah, wouldn't you believe there was more releases of Super Mario Bros. On these consoles too? On November 11th, 2010, there was a special variant of the Wii, which was red and contained a version of Super Mario Bros. In Japan and Australia that changed one thing only. The question mark blocks now have a number 25 on them. Did that really warrant a new console to be made for it? Super Smash Bros. Brawl and for Wii U has a section called Masterpieces, where you can play certain classic games on a time limit, with Super Mario Bros. Being one of the games. Ultimate NES Remix for the 3DS has a version named Speed Mario Bros., which just made the speed double. Whoop-de-doo. In NES Remix 2, there is a version called Super Luigi Bros., which is just the original, except it's with Luigi and the game is flipped. During a tragedy that was the Wii U's life cycle, Nintendo launched the NES Classic Edition on November 10th, 2016. This is a $60 console that emulates 30 built-in games in the NES library. Now it's time to get to the Switch, which has a few re-releases of its own. Nintendo Switch Online has a feature where you can play certain retro consoles online, one of which is the NES, which of course has Super Mario Bros. In it. Versus Super Mario Bros. Got a re-release on December 22nd, 2017, which is part of the Arcade Archives collection. Super Mario Bros. 35 was a Battle Royale version of Super Mario Bros. That had 35 players. Duh. It was released in 2020 that was available to play for a limited time for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers. Unfortunately, it was shut down on March 31st, 2021. And finally, in 2020, Nintendo released Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. This is a handheld console that simulates the old Game & Watch consoles, but now has Super Mario Bros., SMB2J, and Ball. What a game. Now that we are done with every port of SMB1, let's do SMB2J next because I felt that it would fit in this video quite well. I'm just going to rapid fire through these since I've already talked about a few of these. The Lost Levels had ports to SNES via Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World, which had a re-release to the Wii, Game Boy Color via Super Mario Bros. Special, Game Boy Advance via Famicom Minis, Virtual Console and Nintendo Classics via the Wii, 3DS, Wii U, and Switch, and finally Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. And Super Smash Bros. For Wii U via Masterpieces. The amount of ports that Super Mario Bros. Has had was only made possible due to the immense success that it got on the NES. It is a masterpiece of a game that just got re-released just a tad few many times. If this video gets 15 likes, and it's the 3-year anniversary of the first All Ports video, then I'll do another All Ports of video. See you in the next video.